Welcome to our weekly Friday talk and tour series when we share the opportunity to visit the studios of our wonderful artists and hear about their works and inspiration. These visits are brought to you by the Duncan McClellan Gallery and the DMG School Project of St. Petersburg, Florida. Thank you for joining us.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited about this week's episode of our TNT. It's good to see all your faces, and I really must tell you, I really appreciate the support that we've been getting. This means a lot to me personally, our whole team, and I really want to not only thank you for being here, please ask your friends to join us on Fridays. We would love to have even more. And I want to thank my team for putting this together. It's a lot of work, but it's a work of joy, particularly when we have a very honored guest, Kazuki Takizawa. Kazuki is a real friend of the gallery, an amazing artist. I remember the day he walked into the gallery. You were teaching in Jacksonville, I believe, and you made the drive down to see our gallery. And I had to coax it out of him that, yes, he was a glass artist, and yes, he would show me his work, and I was astounded. I think we immediately asked you to be in the gallery, and I think we proceeded with the show shortly after. And we've really enjoyed working with you. It's a real honor. And I think when you hear not and see the work and you understand the level of detail and his abilities, and then when you pair it with the content of the work, I think you'll be really amazed and very honored to have you, sir. Mary Childs, our art director, will be leading the talk. And take it away, Mary.
Thank you, Duncan. As Duncan said, we're so honored to have Kazuki with us. He was teaching when he first came to the gallery, and as well as being an amazing glass blower, he loves to teach and spread what he knows around. And you'll see that behind his work, there's a tremendous spiritual and philosophical drive, which we find very beautiful and inspiring. So Kazuki is currently stationed in LA and with his family and his studio. So we're going to see a series of works that he has done in the past, that he's working on now, and also get a tour of the studio. So thank you, Kazuki, for being with us today, and thank everyone for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for the introduction. Duncan, Mary, Danielle, Irene, and all the rest of the DMG team. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really a pleasure, and it's been an amazing journey for you guys to showcase my work there in your beautiful gallery space. And I feel so humbled and really appreciated it, and really awesome. I just purely kind of feel your kindness, and yeah, it's been amazing to work with you guys and today, and I welcome everybody to my studio. I'm super excited to show you this. I'm sitting in my showroom, so first I think we will be I would like to show you my slide presentation so we can show you guys and introduce the body of work that I create. So yeah, when I met Duncan, I was traveling a lot, doing artist residencies and traveling and teaching, stuff like that. A couple years ago, I took on this responsibility to take over the studio that I was working at, and now I call the studio KT Glassworks. And this is an overview of my studio, and it's located in the heart of Los Angeles. And so here are some of the products that I make. I just put in a few images of some functional items, and you know, that was a lighting piece that I did in Texas. This is a platter called Shizuku. It means water droplet. It's inspired by water. When it splashes, it makes a lot of different kinds of shapes. And so, yeah, I'm here in the studio doing the maintenance, doing the office work, and being the glass blower. And then I just sometimes I just love just blowing glass and just being immersed in the art form. I get to work with really amazing team of glass artists here. This is David taking a final heat on one of my minimalist series work. So a little bit about how I was brought up. I'm Japanese, but I was born and raised in Hong Kong. And this is the apartment where we used to live in. And I grew up speaking Japanese, and all my classmates were from Japan. I really grew up in a bubble of Japanese community in Hong Kong. It was a special environment to grow up in. I went to high school in Bangkok, Thailand, and I went to university in Hawaii, University of Hawaii at Manoa. And that's where I started studying glass. So for me, language was a little bit, or not a little bit, but it's always been, as a child, kind of like a barrier to express, because I couldn't speak the whatever language that was the locals were speaking. And so right now, you know, I'm really happy to have found art and have the opportunity to express my emotions and feelings through art. These are some of the works that I made while I was in school. One of the biggest takeaway from, you know, being in school and was I got to experience and use a lot of different mediums. And I started, you know, expressing my emotions. And I also did a lot of soul searching myself. I started going to therapy as well, you know, and right there is when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So I involved that in kind of like the storytelling part of my work in glass. And I also look to nature for inspirational and just amazing visuals. These are just shells from cone shells, and it's amazing how different variety of colors you get with you know, these specimens of yeah, aquatic life. And yeah, color actually does a lot to you emotionally, and I've learned about that while I was learning about, you know, how to be healthy mentally. And this piece came about. It's a shelter that you can go into that's shaped like a shell. I like
And
the idea. Sure.
excuse me, Kazuki, where is this located?
This was a temporary installation at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And so in 2010, this was installed. And so if you ask the students, a lot of people saw it because I put it in like the middle of the campus. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions if you guys have any.
Yes.
I love questions. But yes, in chromotherapy, where they use colored light, green colors are used in the beginning session of the therapy to open up the absorption of the later color that's cast on. And purple and blues have stress relieving colors
And
effect.
Kazuki, we're being asked, was that made out of sheet glass, or what kind of parts was that made out of?
Yes, this was the project that went on for about a year and a half in production, and I really wanted to make it out of glass, but we made it out of plexiglass, which is like a sheet of plastic, and a custom colored resin coating on top.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so sometimes I feel like it's the childhood memories that shape my art and installation. This is myself and my younger brother in Hong Kong. Yeah, like the cultural background is it's a little bit special for me because I grew up in Hong Kong, but I have a pretty true Japanese culture. Um, uh, this is this is a clip, a scene from an anime movie called My Neighbor is Totoro. It's a really awesome movie. If you guys have not seen it, maybe you should put it on the list of things to do for this weekend. But yeah, the characters are bowing in front of this big tree that is ornamented with this Shintoism ornament. It celebrates the deities and spirits that live within this tree. So in Shintoism, you know, the belief is that there are actually something that resides that's a higher power in these everyday objects, and you see these ornaments on tree trunks that are located on the side of a hiking track or in front of a Shinto shrine. And I really think it really shapes. It's one of the things that shapes my glass is those kind of beliefs that these objects are more than just objects. And as a maker, I always ask myself, what does my object mean, and what does it mean for other people? And so these are my container series work that I've been making probably the longest out of any of the other series. But
And these look very much like the trees with the ornaments around them.
yes, I really love taking elements from nature and kind of using parts of it to include in my work. Part of it is because I don't want to include letters, because that would limit my audience to people who can read those letters. And I feel like elements from nature is international. Like the wings, if you think of wings, it kind of gives you the feeling of freedom or an ability to take you from one place to another. These are the things that I like to use and stylize my glass with, and to give it some character. And these are maybe about, this one is maybe about 15 inches tall. So they're not meant for your evening cocktail function, but it's a pedestal size art piece that I love to make. I look up in the sky a lot, and I wish I could become a bird sometimes. So yeah.
So here's another goblet form, but very different.
Yes, this one is very different from other pieces, and I like to stick with. I like to have a concept first before I make things, and this is probably one of the most special form that I came up with. It's broken up top. It's a little bit off-centered, and it's almost like it's gonna tip over. It was inspired by an experience that I had taking care of my younger brother in 2015. He was actually going through really rough patch in his life and having severe suicidal thoughts. And this was when I got to learn about suicide and how it can be prevented and how everybody can learn about it, and it's okay to learn about it. It's not gonna make you more suicidal to find out about these things. And I found the importance of speaking about these things that are not very much talked about. Um, my brother is really healthy now, by the way, and he is super strong. Um, yes, and I'm so thankful for that, and really, um, you know, yeah, I can cry about him when I talk about him, but this was an installation that I made in a facility called Starworks Glass in North Carolina, and I made a bunch of these vessel forms, and I recorded a video recording of this installation.
We're going to see that now, I believe. It will be quiet at first, and then there'll be sound at the end. Thank you, Kazuki. That's a beautiful tribute to your work with the mental health issue. And I believe you had said that the Japanese word for body is the same as vessel. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, there's a phrase in Japanese where if you say you are a person of a big vessel, that means you're somebody who can take in a lot of stuff like emotional stress. Whereas somebody of a small vessel or somebody who might be off-centered might be more easily tip over and collapse. So I do use vessel forms in my glass pieces, such as goblet, and yeah, it's almost like a vessel for emotion or something like that.
And where was this exhibited?
This was at the when I did internship at Starworks class in North Carolina. It's in this small village called Star. It's a really small village. It's there's only about 800 people living there, and for those who are in the glass blowing industry, that's where Wet Dog Glass is located, which is the one of the most well-known manufacturer of glass blowing equipment, like furnaces. So it was there for a couple hours, and obviously everything kind of got destroyed. And I love that aspect of, at the end of this whole exhibition, like the installation, the takeaway is just the experience. And I did get to tape it, film it, but yeah, I wanted to talk about how the effect of suicide has on people and the community.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So this is another. It's like a different version of the Breaking the Silence series, where I talk about people taking their lives, and so these bells I blew are kind of in the color of fall and like the leaves that are about to fall. It's installed within this metal forged armature that's almost a circle. So that is called enso in Japanese. It's not a full circle. There's something missing. And actually the audience can touch the metal armature to swing their entire sculpture, and the bells will actually sound and make the bell sound.
And this is still on display?
This is actually, it was in a couple of my solo exhibit, and it ended up being purchased by a medical group, hospital in Toledo, Ohio. And I think the next slide is when we installed, this is the video of pilot sound.
So that also speaks to the resonance.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear you there, Mary, but...
Oh, I just said that speaks to the resonance of souls when they actually touch each other as well, because they make beautiful sounds when they connect.
That's beautiful. Yeah, originally I wanted to make it sound like this particular temple that I've been to in Thailand when I was in high school. And they have countless pieces of bells kind of ornamenting the outside of the architecture of the temple. So that's what it kind of sounds like. Yeah. So some of you guys may be familiar with this series of work. If you've been to Duncan's gallery in person, I have a series of these minimalist series work available. So I do a lot besides everything that they tell you to do to stay healthy mentally. I think I do a lot of learning about different things. And one of the things that that really intrigued me was the lifestyle of living simple. And so these pieces are kind of my reflection on how you know, living simple might entail. You know, living simple is probably easier said than done. There's a lot of decision making that has to happen in order to live a simple lifestyle. You know, whether to throw an object away or to keep. It's a big, important decision that, you know, a lot of people put it off. You know, and so in order to create space and to appear simple, there's a lot of complexity that you know, live within it. So in this series, I use clear glass and black and white lines. That's all I use, and it's loosely inspired by scribbles that I've done or a brush stroke of Japanese calligraphy, and um, and I just love this. This is a historical Venetian way of making colored lines and patterns in glass. And so I love that, you know, I'm using historical glass blowing technology to kind of narrate this story that I'm trying
So
to
these are
convey.
Murini then that you're using with cane.
Yes, they are. First, you know, there are the single individual lines that are pulled. They're called canes, and then they're bundled and twisted and pulled again, and that becomes, like you said, Marinis. So these are pretty labor-intensive work of sculptures that individual pieces have multiple stages of production, and there's lots of prep work that happens and a lot of teamwork as well. And so, you know, a lot of time goes into making one of these pieces. But when it comes into like a grouping like that, I can really play around with just the clear black and white and have fun with it. This was an installation that was installed recently, right before COVID happened, at an office in downtown LA. Um, yeah, it's an office called California Wellness Foundation, and yeah, I've been really getting interest from you know, medical group or places like this that kind of has relation to like health, and I really feel happy to present my work in this kind of setting. I do like to work in bigger scale. And so these are my Guardian series, which are pretty newer series. And it talks about how your garment, like what you wear, is serves as a protection for yourself. And so I use things like horns, lids, um, something that may resemble like a scarf or collar, um, is kind of morphed into this really tall goblet shape that's almost the size of my height. Um,
Which is?
yeah, 5'10". My wife is a little bit smaller, and it's about the same height as my wife.
Now these seem reminiscent also of samurai warrior costumes. There was
Yeah,
a great exhibit traveling that showed that. So the helmets and the the vests and things like that.
yeah, that's interesting that you say that. I have a piece in the studio that has some shingles, or so that may look like a fish scale or something like that. And I look at a lot of different textures all around and try to get inspiration from that. Yeah. I just love, again, I just love simplicity and clear glass as well. I'm really in love with clear glass. And so these are my nail series. It's titled Weak Strong. Um, as a person with bipolar disorder, I think about a lot of the dual quality that I have and the opposites, that I have. And so this one is I wanted to tell a story about how fragile points come together, and it can make strength, and it can hold them upright. So that's what these weak strong pieces are.
And these are blown or cast?
These are solid sculpting, which means it's done in the glass blowing studio, but then you don't use a blow pipe. You use a solid rod called the punty, and you use the crimps. You use the tweezers, and to kind of shape into these nail forms. Another one of my 2-word series is stopper driven. Stopper being the driving force behind my creation. It's kind of like the background story behind this. This actually talks about my manic or the hypomanic phase episodes that I have, which is a burst of like energy. I'm talkative. I'm really energetic, and I'm really how do you say ambitious, and sometimes that becomes a stopper for me to be healthy, because sometimes I'm not getting anything done because I'm thinking about too much stuff. But I feel like that's also an important part of who I am. And this is the last piece that I'm going to show you guys today. It's an installation called In Between Light and Shadow. I often, see myself in the dark. When I'm in the depressed phase, I see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I use glass basically to showcase what's in between your darkness and your light at the end of the tunnel. So this was an installation.
And where was this installation?
This is also at Starworks, North Carolina, Starworks Glass in North Carolina. I went back there as a resident artist, and I was able to do another installation there. And this is actually, I didn't have to break everything. So this is actually still viewable if you happen to go and drive through this town, Star, North Carolina. And I think my favorite part of this was people blew onto the really thin shards, and it made the shadow move constantly.
And how are these suspended?
These are suspended with really thin stainless steel wires, and I've punctured 2 holes in every single one of these shards, and I think there were 1,100 of them total. Also, what was interesting was, because these are, I call them the cellophane shards, because it's really thin and it's flexible, even because it's really thin glass. And so this lightweight glass would start spinning all of a sudden, when somebody closes the door on the very end of the warehouse. And all of us that were there, we started noticing things that our senses are not in tune with. So this is a really delicate piece that really opened up my senses while I was watching the pieces move.
Beautiful.
the video recording of it.
Do these pieces make noise also?
Yes, they do make really small noises, and it was really difficult to film these sounds because it was so subtle. Um, and yeah, so yeah, it automatically made everybody around the piece very, very quiet.
So we have a comment from Jeremy saying this is very moving.
Sorry, I don't think I heard you there. Maybe when the video is over.
Thank you, Kazuki. We had a comment from Joni saying how moving that was.
Oh, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. Thank you. So yeah, this is my my last slide. Myself and my younger brother when we were kids in Hong Kong.
How often do you get to go back and see your brother?
I like to go back often, but maybe once every 2 years is the most frequent I can visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I know that, let's see, we have another question from Natasha, and she's talking about your Guardian series. I'm wondering, is that made in parts? How is that blown?
Yes, those are made in parts, and I have a third one sitting here in the studio, which I'm gonna show you guys. But the top part is a lid, so it comes off as well.
Great. We'll see that when you go through the studio, right?
Yes.
Are we ready to go through the studio with Kazuki? I guess we are.
All right.
Thank you.
So, yes, absolutely. I'm gonna flip my camera around, and so this is my showroom. It's above my glass studio here in Los Angeles, and so I'm just gonna give you a quick spin on my swivel chair, and it's a small studio showroom, but I really one of my favorite thing about this room is the curved roof right here, which is the roof of the warehouse, and it does get hot in here, but it's I feel like this is something that I would see in a movie, like an attic, and I just have a showroom here. So this is kind of where I create and do sketches, stuff like that, and I'm in the middle of preparing for a exhibit at the Craft Contemporary Museum here in Los Angeles, and so I have some pieces that are work in progress that are going into that exhibition. But
now, Kazuki, do you always draw your pieces out before you create them?
Yes, I especially when I'm doing an installation. This is a new installation called Brainstorm, which I have installed in downstairs. But I do draw a lot of pieces ahead of time. It's really important to communicate with the team what you're making, and so these are really great tool to kind of get your project started. So I always try to do some sort of sketches.
And how many people are on your team?
I have 3 beautiful assistants and glass artists who help me with my production of the products and artwork. I also have a handful of glass artists who rent my facility. So yeah, there's always at least a couple of people here working. So here are a mix of, my products that I offer through KT Glassworks, my studio, and as well as some of the pieces that you saw in the slide. This is weak strong. And I love using other mediums to showcase glass. So this is a concrete stand that I casted for a sample.
And these are more of the water drop bowls here?
Yes. These simply, you can just enjoy the form and the color. And it just, I use a lot of these beautiful transparent glass jewel tone color. It's an item to accent your, interior decor, basically. And so I play around with a lot of forms that are very relatable, close, low bowl, and I love to apply texture in glass, and that just kind of creates like a ripple effect. Another Shizuku metallicized color piece. These have a built-in glass, I call it the foot, and so yeah, it's kind of lifted off of the surface, and I think that you can see the shadow much better this way.
Yeah, the light comes through.
So a few more of my products here that I have, and this is part of an installation that I'm working on for the exhibition that's coming up in 2021. And it's a bigger version of the stopper driven piece. So this is the stopper, the colorful stopper, which this is a color called Sargasso. And I have tons of different other colors that, that I use to make the stopper. And so all of these bottles are gonna have different color stoppers, and it's gonna be filled with water. So it's gonna have that prism effect. And yeah.
You talked about your love of glass, also clear glass and form.
What was that? I'm sorry.
You spoke about your love of clear glass and how you love to work with just clear glass and how it showed the form.
Oh yes. Yes, definitely. I love I love using clear glass, and I treat it as kind of like the negative space in glass blowing, glass work. And so things that have that utilize this kind of spacing, I think it's my way of decorating my glass pieces, is to take a step back from color or pattern, just to kind of emphasize that color. And so I feel like the negative space, the use of negative space in Japanese culture is very, very unique. And I feel like I'm trying to understand it more as I make my glass pieces. So this is a Guardian piece that I have in the studio, and it has these shingles as the body, and the lid is actually, it's just stacking. So with glass, you can really increase the size by using a lot of different things to bring the components together. And I love that aspect of making. So another one of my minimalist series, and here are some pieces of marinis that consist of lots of different lines that are embedded in this clear glass rod called cane, and I use these to do the prep work and make the different patterned glass pieces in the minimalist series work. So this is another wall installation, and I specifically wanted to have this Japanese wood cabinetry technique incorporated in this series of work. And this is like a smaller pebble-like form manifestation of the minimalist series work. But in here, I wanted to create kind of like a scene, in your home or something that, like a cabinetry in your home where you keep your things that means a lot to you. Like, for example, if you go on a hike and go on a beach and pick up this pebble and bring it to you to kind of keep the memory of the experience going. I feel like that really tells a lot about the relationship between objects and human emotions. And it's really nice to surround your things with things that are really meaningful to you, and it really definitely does give you that boost and spike of happiness every time you see it, or every time you feel like you're surrounded with really cool quality things. So this is kind of like showcasing that story. I love making goblets as well, and I just love pure Venetian style of working. So these are my stemware that I make through KT Glassworks. More of my nail series. These I got to make at Pilchuck Glass School when I was teaching there, and the gaffers, Austin Stern and Sasha Teptern, they were able to help me make these pieces, and yeah, it's one of my favorites because it really means a lot to me to have these really wonderful people work on these pieces for me. Okay, so that's pretty much it with my showroom.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions about any specific things? Otherwise, I'm just gonna go downstairs and show you the rest of the studio.
Well, we have a couple comments. Anthony says, what a tremendous variety of glass, from Venetian goblets to abstract installations. And it's a very impressive range of ability to work with your craft. Let's see, we also have, Natasha's wondering if you could talk a bit more about the process of the guardians, but I know that's a whole other topic. So maybe as we walk down to the studio, you might talk a little bit about that. But I know that the guardians themselves are, I bet,
of course,
a lesson, right?
Of course, yeah. Actually, I have the stand. The actual stand is made out of concrete, and so I can show you that in my storage area as I walk down.
Okay.
And show you the rest of the studio here. My storage is not so glamorous, sorry, but this is the concrete stand. It's wrapped up, but it's this gray. This one is the gray one. I have a greenish one and kind of like a pale white one for different colored guardians, but they're actually inspired by these guardian statues that you see on the side of a hiking track in Japan, stone statues, and they're like a protection for children and stuff like that. But I really like that, that that protection aspect of these really religiously worshipped or appreciated, I guess, objects, basically.
Yes.
So yeah, that was kind of my original inspiration there. That's Deshaun over there, and sorry, blanking your name. What's your name again? Javier. Yeah, they're working today, and actually Deshaun was, he took a workshop with me at Pilchuck last year, and has been working out of my studio since then. And Javier is, he's a student at Cal State Fullerton, and they're actually making some products today. So I feel so happy, and I'm about to cry right now. But this is the rest of the studio, and this is where the magic happens. A lot of times you'll see me here fixing things and doing emails and stuff like that.
So how many furnaces do you have? How many?
Sure. So yeah, this is the reheating chamber that has the glow, where we can reheat the glass. And then this is the furnace. I only have one furnace, furnace that holds 180 pounds of clear glass. So it's considered a small furnace in our industry. But yeah, we get a really good use out of this furnace, and this is another reheating chamber. This mini reheating chamber is one of my new addition. I built it. It was actually a compressor air compressor tank that I built.
Wow.
And I want to show you. This is what the magic is made out of. This is the raw ingredient, the glass that comes from Sweden, and comes in these 50-pound bags, which I throw in the furnace at nighttime. So I live like 5 minutes away, and I come back here and throw some glass at night.
That's great. So what size is the studio?
The studio space is about 2,000, a little over 2,000 square feet. And we have a couple of rooms here that this one is for cold working, which is like anything from cutting to grinding to polishing and drilling. And so my friend Kai Akira, it's his shop, and we collaborate on things when we need to have cold working done here. We also have an in-house machining room operated by Kai as well. And so we have a lathe, machining lathe, and a mill over there he has. And so yeah, we've been working on lighting projects, and he's been really amazing, and he's been making these custom brass and metal fixtures to go onto my glass.
Wow. How long have you been there, Kazuki?
I've had my studio here for 2 years, but this studio belonged to my friend, and he put the equipment here maybe 6 years ago. So So this is my office, and how are we doing on time?
Well, we're going to, we just saw where all the magic happens. So now we're going to show a series of pieces that were created through all this magic and that are available for people if they have any questions about the pieces.
That sounds great.
So this we saw in your studio, correct?
Yes, we saw that in my studio upstairs. It's one of my container series work. And yeah.
This is one of your platters, I call them raindrop platters, but Shizuku is the correct
Yes,
tray.
and yeah, and this one is a textured vessel, gold ruby. Yeah, these are decorative items that you can acquire for your home, and yeah, it just gives you a burst of color in your home. Again, week strong, which you guys saw in my showroom upstairs on top of the concrete pedestal. And the stemware, I have low ones, which are like 5 inches, all the way up to tall one that are about 10 inches high. These are my minimalist series work that has a lot of the intense line work in it.
I think these are at the gallery also.
Yes, these are at the gallery, and they are difficult to photograph. This one has black lines as well, and so it's got bigger cells, the bigger windows than other pieces.
And this one in reality has beautifully fine cane in it. It's like lace work. It's so delicate.
It is very much like lace work. If anybody get a chance, please go. And you guys are open for appointment?
Correct.
Yeah, so if you get to take a look in detail, it's really fine lace work. So yeah. Yep, another one of my minimalist series work that you guys carry, and it's got, yeah, definitely lots and lots of patterning going.
And we love the bands. The band part of what you were doing was new last year, right? Or the year before. This was a new kind of thing, introducing the bands in between.
Yeah, you're right. This is a new attempt that I did, and it's actually really difficult to blow these banded pieces because it's colors behave differently when it's in a ring form like that. So so it's a really tricky thing to do. At least I think so.
This is so elegant, this piece.
Yeah, this piece, I think I emphasized a little bit more clear space. And yeah, these line work is kind of really unique to itself. So
yeah,
and this one as well has bigger kind of windows and bigger circles. And that's me.
Well, thank you, Kazuki. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for everybody's time. And yeah, it's so fun to get to take you guys around to my studio.
Kazuki, thank you so much. It was really great to see you again if we can't see each other in person. And I want to thank everybody that was on today. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to have everybody. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.